to 5 tips in 5 minutes. If this is your first time joining me, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell beside it. All right, so my first year teaching, I taught 5th grade and I was terrible at it, right? And I had to apologize many times to my students because what I taught the previous day, I went back home and I reflected on it and I actually learned the material, and I had to go back the next day like, look y'all, what I said yesterday was completely wrong. We're gonna start new today, okay? So just erase yesterday, we're gonna start today. And I wish that I had a handbook for teachers of African American children back then, because I would have known better. All right, so this chapter is focused on effective classroom instruction. And tip number 1 that I pulled from this chapter: you can't teach what you don't know, okay? He says in the book, if you're a music teacher and you're not a musician and you don't know anything about music, you can't teach students how to play the violin, right? So same thing, if you're a math teacher and you're not an expert in math, you're going to be a disservice to your African American students. If you're a reading teacher and you're not a reading specialist, you're going to do a disservice to those students, right? So he suggests professional developments and learning as much as you can about your area of expertise so that you can be effective for your students. Tip number 2, have attention grabbers and closers. As a kindergarten teacher, one of my attention grabbers was I would say readers, and they would respond, yes, we are readers. And they knew automatically, now it's reading time. Now we're going to talk about reading. And for closers, something simple at the end of the lesson. This is the letter B. It makes this sound. These are 3 pictures that go with the letter B. And something cool that you could do also, if you're a lower grade teacher, at the end of the day, go through your schedule. At reading time, we did this. Math time, we did this. If you were in my blue reading group, raise your hand, tell your class something cool we did. If you were in my math group, raise your hand, tell your class something cool we did during math. Tip number 3, your students are the stars. My first year teaching, I thought I was the star. I got up there, I taught for 45, 50 minutes, and I felt like the more that I taught, the more that they were learning, and that wasn't the case, right? So your students are the stars. Make it a student-centered environment. And then tip number 4, different strokes for different folks. In this part of the book, he talks about differentiated instruction, right? Making sure that you're tapping into all the learning styles that are in your room. Some students love to hear you talk. They absorb all that information when you're talking. But there are some students that need to hear you talk and they need to watch a YouTube video. There are some students that need to hear you talk, watch the YouTube video, and then put it together and touch it with their hands, right? So there are different types of learners, and as the educator, we have to tap into what type of learner we are standing in front of in the moment, and we have to make sure that we are differentiating that instruction. And then tip number 5, brain and child development. Now, he is not suggesting that you go out and you study the brain or you get another degree in child development, but he is suggesting that we follow the research so that we understand the difference between a Leara Smith challenge and a 5-year-old challenge. Or is this a Jacob Johnson challenge, or is this a 7-year-old challenge, right? Is this a challenge for the individual kid, or are all 5th graders kind of developing at this time, at this rate, in this particular way, right? So that we understand the difference. Following the research just so that we understand how the children's brain is working and how they're developing at that time, okay? So effective classroom instruction, I have 5 tips. You can't teach what you don't know. Have attention grabbers and closers. Your students are the stars. Different strokes for different folks. And following that brain and child development, okay? So we are halfway through. Next week, we're actually going to focus on planning and organization together. If you have enjoyed the content so far, please like, please comment, please let me know that you are engaged. And you can actually leave your email in the comment, and I can add you to my email subscriber list so that we can stay connected. And I will see you all next week.